Just wait for people to come in a little bit. Yeah, we'll see how this one goes. We'll see how this live goes. Welcome in, everybody. Replay crew, you know what to do. So I'm gonna try to just do this as like a podcast style. I'm not gonna be able to bring up. Well, first audio check. If you're here, audio is audio good? Sound is good. Okay. So thank you, Native Girl. Welcome in. So I think as long as I just don't bring up other tabs and just keep this audio, we should be fine. I want to have at least really good audio or better audio than last time. But yeah, let me just jump right into it. At least will have this here for like the replay crew. I know it's a little bit early. Let me turn this down a little bit. Just turn that off so it doesn't lag on me. Yeah. So what the last stream that I did, I wasn't able to. Uh, I mean, I was able to talk about a nobody case in California in San Bernardino, and what I want to do is I want to um, go through that case again, just because the audio on that was pretty bad, and so I think it's important that we cover that, and then I'll go into the another case with that, and with that case, I mean, there's a twist to it. There's like a couple twists to it, and so I want to get into it. I only have like an hour, um, so let me see. Look at my notes real quick. Yeah, the twist to it, it's just it was pretty wild. But so this is set. It's the Rivera and Walpole case. Walpole case. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. No, actually, I'm sorry. Wrong case. Wrong case. Okay, no, it is the right case. All right, here we go. So, based in 1974, 1976 is when this this was this was this happened, and so the yeah, it was a case where parents were accused of killing their daughter, their 3-year-old daughter. And so later on, as we'll see, it just wasn't the case. It was something different. And so I want to go over this key California nobody case. So let me just go over my notes. Let me just go over notes. Okay, yeah. So it was in San Bernardino County in the mid 1970s. The key players are Antonio Rivera and Merla Walpole, accused of killing their daughter, Judy. And in that case, they found skeletal remains near the home. So they quickly assumed, police and LE said that it was the parents because there were skeletal remains. So they um, they arrested them, and so when they arrested them, the trial went on, and during the trial, the prosecution was trying to argue, for a nobody case, and so they were found guilty of second degree murder in 1976. So they were celebrating. The DA was celebrating because then this was another case proving that you could convict somebody without a body, and this was in the mid 1970s. So this was huge. Just grab some coffee. And so here's the twist. The twist was that the skeletal remains, when they tested it out, wasn't that of the daughter, Judy. It was someone else. So on a technicality, they got released, and the convictions just fell apart. 20 months after that, I mean, they were exonerated of the charges. So they were released on that technicality, and then they just, yeah, they got released after that. So what happened was, excuse me, uh, so the conviction date was 1975, and then 20 months later, in the early 1977, she was alive. Judy, the daughter, was alive. So the technicality that overturned the conviction makes a compelling legal twist before the even bigger surprise, meaning Judy was alive. So that was pretty interesting. Um, I'm not sure who the remains were, or if they ever found who the remains were of, but they weren't of the daughter. What happened was they, the daughter was abandoned in a gas station in San Francisco, and a family came along and adopted Judy, a 3-year-old. So this whole time, they're thinking that the parents killed the kid, and later to find out that the skeletal remains weren't that of Judy. And not only that, 20 months later, they find Judy alive. So then the conviction gets overturned. And why that is important, it's because with the DA, they got excited with this case. They jumped to an assumption because they found skeletal remains without testing them first and then going from there. Albeit, the daughter was abandoned in a gas station, uh, but it wasn't murder. But I mean, it's still pretty. It's not a light thing to abandon your kid like that. I mean, that's still pretty uh, horrific. And for just to later, for like 20 months later, to find out that your daughter is alive somewhere with another family, it's just insane. So that got overturned, and that kind of made in the legal world, it made people hesitant with no body crimes, and this was in the 1970s, right after the case that we covered earlier, where um, the husband killed the wife because of financial gain, and that was a successful conviction based on his stories changing, based on her pattern of lifestyle, based on circumstantial evidence. It was heavy circumstantial evidence, and that's what that case was, the one in Los Angeles with the husband killing the wife. And then fast forward to the 1970s, mid 1970s, 1975, which was the conviction date of these two parents, Antonio Rivera and his ex-wife Merla Walpole, in San Bernardino. And this is the San Bernardino case, same with the case that we are covering now currently, is the Jake and Harold case. So what I wanted to do is bring that up and bring those cases to the light as we move forward with the Jake and Harold case. And I want to catch everybody up to the Jake and Harold case. So what we're going to do is go over these cases, these landmark cases of no body crimes, because that's what it looks like. I shouldn't say feel, but that's what it looks like. It's going to be a no body case. And I want to get familiarized with that moving forward, and you know what we expect from different cases in the past to what we might expect in this case. And I think if we're if we're better informed, educated, and we can form better opinions in that case, I think we will be good leading up to that case. And so I wanted to go over these cases. Um, but that was pretty interesting. I couldn't find too much on it just because it was in the 1970s. I was looking at newspapers.com. There really wasn't much on this case. I mean, I really wanted to dig deeper into this case. It's just I could not find much on it. Um, but it would be interesting to see and hear and read what the community was saying at the time, whether or not, because the Judy daughter, the 3-year-old, was alive. So it'd be interesting to see what the newspapers are saying, what the speculation is, hey, Southern Cats, welcome in. What the feel the community was at that time, but I could not find much on that. Yeah, so she was abandoned in San Francisco at a gas station in January of 1965 with her parents, by her parents, because they couldn't support her while she was seriously ill. Uh, so yeah, so the San Francisco Chronicle, I guess, reported on this. So maybe I'll look into that. I'll look into the San Francisco Chronicle. And yeah, 1973, the skeletal remains of a young woman um, in Jarupa Hills near San Bernardino. That's when it was discovered. And so they wrongly identified them as her bones, as as just Judy, and that wasn't it. So we go March 13, 1975, and the mom and daughter, I'm sorry, the mom and wife were convicted of second-degree murder, despite the absence of a body. So the trial judge in that case he halted the investigation because he wanted further, the sentencing, because he wanted further investigation. After the couple maintained that their daughter was still alive, which is crazy because it doesn't. I mean, you're saying your daughter's still alive, but you abandoned her. So how can you say she's still alive? You don't know what could have happened. You don't know if someone picked her up and killed her. You don't know if she got ran over, if she got lost and then succumbed to the elements. So that was pretty interesting too. They try to maintain a level of innocence and downplay that she was still alive, but you still abandon her in a gas station. I mean, that's still pretty bad. I mean, that's horrible. That's like POS stuff. And while you're still maintaining your innocence, so that's I don't know. That just rubbed me the wrong way as it should. Um, so the investigators, 1976 through 1977. Oh, I see. Yeah, the girls' adoption records, probably. Yeah. So the investigators and the proof and the exoneration, which was in 1976 through 1977, was that the investigators traced a girl mentioned in old news reports, confirming she was Judy. So there was reports by that San Francisco Chronicle that a girl was mentioned in these reports before she was finally able to locate her. Oh wow! And so the test proof, so this is during the proof and the exoneration phase, 1976 through 1977. The test proof the skeletal remains were not hers, and the couple's conviction was overturned on a technicality, not due to proof of innocence. And see, I like this wording right here. It says, was overturned on a technicality, but not due to proof of innocence. How many times have we seen a case, and this stuck out, where we see somebody on a get off on a technicality, right? And so, but the way they described it here on this report, on my notes, is like not due to proof of innocence. And that's where people, I believe, get it wrong. It's like, no, he's innocent. He was let off on a technicality, but he's innocent. But the way it was described here, it's like not due to proof of your innocence. It was just a technicality. And I really want to stress that too, because we see that all the time. A technicality, got off on a technicality, off on a technicality, and people frame that as innocent. And so when I read this, I was like, wow, it was like an epiphany. I said, okay, that makes, yeah, I see. Because it's not your proof of your innocence. It's just a technicality. You just beat the system for whatever reason. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And so like about 20 months later, Judy was formally discovered alive. That's the daughter, the 3-year-old girl. So that's what exonerated them. So the conviction got overturned, then they got exonerated. Um, and I'm still, you know, torn apart because of the abandonment at a gas station. I mean, that's just, why weren't they charged for that? Why weren't they charged for abandonment? And it was because of her illness. So I mean, that just adds to the level of, just wrongfulness of the case. But yeah, 20 months later, she was discovered, and the couple got exonerated. Um, So that was that. Again, I couldn't find too much of it. I'll see if I can dig a little deeper because this one is very interesting. But as we go along, we'll start to see cases with more information as we see now. Usually, we don't have that. We don't have information. The records are sealed. There just isn't any proof. There's no video. There's no eyewitnesses. But recently in the news, we've had breakthroughs in DNA, we've had video, audio, testimony, timelines, GPS, things of that nature, which makes a lot of the cases that have come out with a lot of updates. And so you'll see the transition, and you'll start to see and form a picture in your head of how these cases, albeit this one was not successful in a conviction of a no body crime, the importance of circumstantial evidence. Whether I mean, you have to have that circumstantial evidence where you say, these are the bones, we tested them, it's Judy's, boom, we got you. Or this is her clothing, it was found here in your backyard, there's blood, she's 3 years old, she's not going to go missing. and you've been saying accounts and telling your neighbors and telling your family that she's good, she's playing in the house, but no one's seen the baby. See how things start adding up. And I believe we're going to see that in the Jake and Harold case, which I've been covering since the beginning, as we all have. I mean, it's just become huge. And so what the DA was saying is they have a lot of witnesses. What these witnesses are going to say or testify, we don't know. So that'll be interesting to see what they are going to say with that regarding, who said what, and then the conflicting stories, which I believe that's what is going to be. It's going to be conflicting stories. You're saying one thing to your neighbor, to your family, but then you're saying something different to us. So yeah, it is definitely interesting how those things kind of play out, and it's just um, it's just sometimes the way things kind of play out that we don't see it as a bigger picture, and it's hard sometimes because we try to fill in those gaps. We try to fill in the gaps, and it's difficult. But there's times when we can fill in the gaps with what we have, and we kind of get pretty close to it. We kind of get better at deciphering these cases, because these cases are pretty interesting, and we want resolution to these cases. We want the missing and the murder found. We want we want justice for them. And I think if we better understand how the workings of circumstantial evidence and how important it is, because I know a lot of people, some people believe that the circumstantial evidence in certain cases aren't enough, or just are bogus, or what do they say, junk science, or this and that. But it's not the case, man. The circumstantial evidence against a case has to be heavy. A bullet, timelines, witnesses, what you're wearing that day, what you were doing before, what you were doing after. Where's the phone that you had that day? Oh, it's gone. Inconsistencies in your story. Yes, I was at the bridge, but I wasn't at the first trestle. Now you're saying you are there. You told your wife you were at the trails, but you weren't at the bridge. Inconsistencies. So when you add it all up with circumstantial evidence, then you start forming a bigger picture, and it starts to fit, the timeline. Your car, we saw your car on the camera. There's more to it. It just keeps piling and piling. There were more people there's more people in a case, but then they get rolled out. Why? Because they have alibis. Because the circumstantial evidence isn't fitting that person that was there near or around the crime scene. They just happen to just be unlucky and be there. But they look at phone records. Okay, what were you doing? What were you texting? Okay, you were here. You were looking at Google. You're looking at how to, what dinner, what should I make. You're not looking, how do I kill somebody, how do I strangle somebody, where's the nearest freaking landfill. You see what I'm saying? So it bothers me when people say circumstantial evidence isn't enough evidence to convict somebody, or is weak, and it's not. When you add it all up, it's huge. It's huge. And so I think that's important, in these cases, with the no body cases, because you don't have a body. But with modern forensics and cameras, GPS, it starts to be form a better picture, in my opinion. And so I want to jump to another case following this one, and it's Schaefer Schaefer and Hall, and this was in 1979 through 1981. This was right after And this is, again, these are going to be no body cases in California, specifically in California. And I want to focus on that because, I mean, there's other cases around the nation, around the world, but I want to focus on one thing and be more organized with it. And so this is another case in California, the in the 1970s. Leonard Schaefer and Charles Hall were prosecuted in California, and this one is based in Los Angeles. By all counts, with the Rivera and Wallop case, they did look guilty with the missing child. It doesn't make people the most. Doesn't make sense for me that someone would just drop the kid off and abandon it. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? That's why I put that caveat there that they dropped it, the they abandoned the baby. I mean that's not good. And sometimes these parents, the kids that go missing, they're not looking for them. They're not out there putting posters up. They're not out there talking to the media. They're not out there having their lawyer talk to the media. They're not out there talking to law enforcement, searchers. And it just makes you wonder, like, why aren't you searching for your kid? Why aren't, you know, you're putting in that effort as other people that aren't their kids, putting more effort into searching and awareness for the disappearance. But again, it has to, the circumstantial evidence has to outweigh the doubt. And but yeah, it's a good comment. Thank you, Native Girl. Yeah, welcome in everybody. Make sure you hit that like button. Replay crew. This is going to be a um, more of a podcast style episode going over these cases. Just because of my internet or whatever it is, hey Jenny, welcome in. Just because of how the yeah, I don't want to. All right, little Lisa. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're just going over some cases, trying to catch up on no body cases in California. I went over one where somebody got convicted, and they found the daughter that was supposedly missing. Those cases always blow my mind. When it's like it just there's like a huge twist to the story that you just don't expect, or they are found alive. Smart ass patriot. Hey, how you doing? Becky's in the house. All right. Right on. Welcome in. Welcome in. Um, so this one, and then we're gonna be moving now to another one. It's like 1979 through 1981, and so see how we're progressing with this. And I want to be able to bang these cases out so we can catch up on the Jake and Harold case. So that way, when I'm at the courtroom, we've all have been caught up with no body cases, and we have a little bit more understanding. I know everybody in the true crime community, especially us that are enthusiasts, we look into these cases. We look deeper into just than the average person just flips the news and that's it. So a lot of the things here are going to be similar to you, and maybe some things aren't, but I'm really glad you're here, and I'm really glad, like, the replay crew will be listening into this. So the yeah, see, so I want to do 30 minutes because I know allegedly speculating is going on in 30 minutes. So I wanted to do this other case too, and then because I know we have like kind of the same subs, so I want to be. That's the only person I'll really what's the word? I don't know. I'll be considerate, I guess, or something. Yeah, she's awesome. She's great. If you don't know her, which I doubt, check her out. Her name's Allegedly Speculating. She's awesome. She's great, and yeah, she's cool. All right. So Schaefer and Hall, 1970s. And the victims for that, there's a little background, were young men um, connected to the defendant, so they were connected to them, and we'll figure out here more uh, with my notes. Their bodies were never found. So yeah, their bodies were never found. So the trial and the conviction, that was between 1979 and 1981. 1981. Yeah, here we go. Just looking over my notes. Yeah, welcome in everybody. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Legal strategies. Here we go. So the convictions were significant because the state had not recovered the remains to present to the jury. Again, no body case. So the legal strategy leaned heavily on corpus delicti. That's Latin. I don't know where all my Latin people at. Principles. And that just pretty much is the idea that prosecutors can prove a crime without a body. But what I've heard too is that they. Oh, really? Wow. I'll have to check that out. Oh, that's sad. That is very sad. Oh, that breaks my heart. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, that is sad. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll check that out in a minute. Um, we'll see what's going on with that. It's always sucks, right? Wow. Um, yeah, welcome in. Thank you so much. Thank you for that news, Robin. Even though it's not the greatest news we want to hear, at least he's found. At least they found him. I mean, if that's anything to it, but wow. So the case. So what I heard from that, the Latin word of corpus delicti, and I hope I'm saying that wrong. If not, I apologize. But that's just pretty much just proving about the no body crime or the body of the crime, in layman's terms. So yeah, the idea that prosecutors can prove a crime without a body if other evidence establishes death and criminal agency. That's key. And so the significance of this, of the trial became another building block in California's no body case law, showing juries um, that this types of cases could still have a conviction. Unlike the Rivera and Walpole case, the one that we just heard, the victim was later found. But these convictions stuck. This conviction we're talking about now, and so let me look at my notes. And yeah, who are like the Schaefers in the Hall, right? And Lucinda Cindy Lynn Shaver, 16, disappeared June 24th, 1979, after leaving a church youth meeting in Torrance, California. She was last seen walking towards her grandmother's home. One of her shoes was later found along the road. Her body was never recovered. How many times have we seen that? How many times have we heard that? Where a shoe has been found near or thereof the disappearance. I mean, that's just chilling right there, where it's like, it's just they get snatched up, the shoe falls, and that's all that's left. It's so haunting to for your memory of a shoe. The memory is just there and you're gone. You're only there as a shoe. It's just haunting, in my opinion. Um, and so let me see. Just looking over my notes. Schaefer and Paul. So we found like the Lynn Schaefer. So Andrea Joy Hall disappeared July 8th, 1970, while hitchhiking on PCH in Redondo Beach, California. Her body has never been recovered. Both are among the five known victims of serial killer Lawrence Bid- Bittaker and Roy Norris, the toolbox killer. Authorities later confirmed only the two bodies, Schaefer and Hall, were never found. Wow. So now what's going on? Just catch up on chat. Hey, welcome in, Frank. Smartass Patriot. Lisa's here. Native Girls here. Right on. All right, that's cool. Everybody's, being respectful. Everybody's joining in the conversation. I appreciate every single one of you keeping the chat just flowing naturally, and everybody's getting along. And yeah, I appreciate it. Becky, hey, how you doing? Welcome in. Let me just grab a coffee real quick, or a sip of my coffee, while I go over my notes. So we go into, hey, Cindy, nice. Welcome in, everybody. Just going over this. I'm trying to get this before 10:30 because I know allegedly speculating is going to be on at 10:30. So I wanted to make this a style like podcast without bringing up too many visuals, which is working. It's working. It's working good. So I want to keep this. I don't want to move the computer. I don't want to open more tabs because then it just closes everything and it's no good for the yeah, for the it's just not good for the stream. But I want to be able to at least get these out because next week is when the trial or the hearing, two hearings, important hearings are going to happen. So we'll get caught up with that. So, how did prosecutors win this case with this nobody conviction? And you have to think they're coming off uh, the last nobody case where the daughter was found. So they're a little discouraged. They're a little cautious about moving forward. So we're going to go into excuse me, how they won a nobody conviction. So there was an accomplice testimony. Roy Norris. This guy pleaded guilty in March in 1980. And so, hey, thanks, Frank. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And testified in 19. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Let me start over. So the accomplice testimony of Roy Norris, the guy he pleaded guilty in 1980, March 18th, 1980. And so he testified against Bittaker in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. That's another thing too. These guys, they're cowards. They go after the weak. They go after people who can't speak up for themselves. And so when they're faced with the death penalty, then they start to crumble. Then they want plea deals. Then they start talking. Hate that. Yeah, I dislike that. Hate's a pretty strong word, but yeah, that's just I don't know. Um, so with providing details and accounts of the abductions and killing, including Schaefer and Hall. Um, so with the physical and forensics corroboration, that's another thing. It's like the physical and forensics. I think we'll see that a lot too coming up with this Jake and Harold case. The van, the tools implemented, victim property, items recovered during the searches align with Norse's narrative. See, that's the other thing with Norse's narrative. There's if there's somebody coming forward with a narrative of locations, methods, and timelines, that's super hard to disprove. If a witness is coming and say, "Look, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to, you know, if you don't put me to death, I'll tell you everything and timelines and what we did and where we did it and who we did it for." That's huge. When someone comes forward like that, that's huge. There's a lot of cases, not off the top of my head, that I can think of the name of it, but there's some that where someone comes forward and just, I mean, it's like they're nailing every single timeline and methods, and there something was found there that the public didn't know. I mean, that's huge, and that's what this guy did. He pretty much snitched on this on this guy. uh, So the pattern of evidence here, other victims. See, there's a pattern. The murders of Gilliam, Lamp, and Ledford with Ledford's infamous torture audio. So there's a audio of that. I'll have to look at, or try to see what's going on with that. And so that established a distinct MO, um, modus operandus, as we all know, bolstering the inference of death for Schaefer and Hall despite absence of remain. Again, circumstantial evidence, despite an absence of a body. And that's huge. That is huge. So some of the public records, it says here that the case histories note explicitly that Schaefer and Hall's bodies were never recovered. So that's sad, that the body was never discovered or recovered. But their murders were included in the convictions. So that's huge. That is huge. So why did this work in the court? So California law permits providing the corpus delicti, that's what we were talking about earlier, of the homicide through circumstantial evidence. A body isn't legally required if the fact of death and criminal agency are established beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, the DA has to come prepared. The DA, the sheriffs, the lead investigators, they have to come forward and have uh, establish a no body case beyond a reasonable doubt. And if there's any doubt in these cases coming, I mean, forget about it. But I feel confident that the DA and the Jake and Harold case are going to come through and have enough evidence, have the witnesses. I think the car is going to play a role, in my opinion. We don't know. We don't know yet of the evidence. Um, are going to play key roles in the conviction of whether it is one person of the conviction of the murder, both parents' conviction of the murder, one or neither. I think there's going to be things are going to stick. Is my opinion. The things are going to stick. A murder case is going to stick. And oh, that reminds me. I want to touch on this too before I move forward with the Jake and Harold case. Um, I think and I believe, and I want to speculate that just based on other cases that in the Jake and Harold case with Jake's prior conviction, I feel like they're going to try to move or file a motion or whatever you want to call it to not have his previous incident record be presented if it goes to the jury, if it goes to that extent that he's they're going to not want that to come to light because it's going to be prejudicial. It's not going to give him a fair trial is what they're going to say. I'm not saying this is what I believe that the lawyers are going to present, that they're going to say we don't want this past conviction, this past record to be brought up in this current record, in this current case. I'm sorry, um, because it's going to be prejudicial and it's going to be unfair to the case and to Jake. I feel like that's going to happen. We've seen that before, where what do we find out later? That this woman had killed her, she killed her husband, but what do we find? She gets exonerated or she gets pleaded not guilty, but what do we later find out? She killed her last husband too. And they don't want to present that evidence because it'll be prejudicial. So that will be interesting. And I think they're going to do something similar to that because look at how the public is when those pictures came out, the outrage. Um, oh, thank you, Becky. Appreciate you. Yeah, yeah, we have the same, kind of the same subs. She's the one that brought me over 50 to go live at the courtroom. So I have a special place in my heart for her always. And that's like the only channel out here that I'm allowing anybody to talk freely about. uh, I mean, it's a no-brainer. But she's great, and so I know she's going in on at 10:30. So I wanted to go in before, and then at 10:30, we'll wrap things up, and then that way, even myself, I mean, I'm a big fan of her channel. I'm gonna just go over there and hang out for a little bit. But I wanted to go over this case, the earlier one, where my audio just wasn't too good. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining me. Appreciate you. Hit the like, hit the sub. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's the Cash App, there's the Venmo. It's not required. I always say this: it's not required, but it is appreciated. So um, let's continue to this. All right, let me see where I left on. Okay, so yeah, the here we go. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So why this case worked was because of the heavy circumstantial evidence. The guy snitching on the other guy, that was huge. Pretty much spilling the beans on everything, and the legal outcomes of it. 1979, 1981. Roy Norris pleads guilty to multiple murders on March 18, 1980. And so later he was sentenced for the agreement of him cooperating and used as the state's principal witness. So he became a principal witness to avoid the death penalty. Yeah, if somebody can drop her link, that'd be cool. Um, and so Lawrence Bittaker, he goes to trial, right? So he's convicted in 1981. I don't know why I find that so funny that the guy just, you know, they're so hot shit. They're these scary people that are supposedly scary people that are going, that are like, I mean, they are scary, but I'm saying like in their head, in their mind, that they're these big shots, and then when the presented with the death penalty, they flip. They, I don't know why I find that so funny, but it is to me. And so Lawrence Bittaker, so he went to trial, convicted in 1981, and was sentenced to death. California Supreme Court affirmed the judgment in 1989. So the People versus Bittaker. And so he died on death row in 2019. Wow, that wasn't too long ago. I mean, 5 years ago. So yeah, what a POS. Died in 2019. So rest in pieces is all I can say to this guy. Um, so the victim recovery status of the Schaefer and Hall, they still remain missing, and the other three victims were recovered or partially recovered. A lot of and they were forensically connected. And see, that's the thing too. When the remains have been out there with the elements for so long, there's only partial remains sometimes. So that's another key thing to think about is how long the body has been out there. Yeah, let me see if I can get her link. But I think if you just put like allegedly speculating, like it'll come up. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Nader. Appreciate you. Thank you to all my mods. Thank you for the subs, the chat, keeping it cool. Thank you. Appreciate everybody. So yeah, so here's a little bit of a timeline too, because there were other killings that they were linked to. So here's like a little timeline. June 24th, 1979, Cindy Schaefer vanishes, in Torrance. July 8th, 1979, Andrea Hall vanishes. November 1979, Bittaker and Norris are arrested following the information tip and escalating the investigation. March 18th, 1980. So things are moving along with this case. That's pretty good. Norris pleads guilty, agrees to testify. That's when he flips like a little bitch, because they had the death penalty. He was up for the death penalty. 1981, Bittaker convicted and sentenced to death, as we saw, includes counts of Schaefer and Hall. That's good. They even though the bodies weren't found of Schaefer and Hall, they still convicted them of those two murders, even though their bodies weren't found. So that's good. Fast forward to 1989. That's the Supreme Court. They say, yeah, let's go. And in December 16th, 2019, Bittaker's death. Yeah, so he died, and Schaefer and Hall's body were never discovered. Wow. Oh, okay, so here are my notes. Is he died of just natural causes in San Quentin? So he died 79 natural causes. Good for him. I don't feel like going into his stuff. Um, I'd rather talk about the other people. The people that got affected by it, and the judicial um, things surrounding the case. So that was that. That was the timeline of it. The other guy that died at death row, on death row, natural causes. And so the angle of this, I think, what it gave prosecution, the DA. All right, always on empty. Welcome in, Rhode Island. Rhode Island's in the house. What's the case? Hey, scratch that paint. Um, Good to see you. We just went over two cases, no body cases in California. I'm gonna make this into a series of in California no body cases that are gonna lead up to the modern times for Jake and Harold case. And I think what I want to do, and I am doing, is bringing up these cases, bringing up history of it, so that we can look back in the history, look at the present, and kind of maybe see what the future will hold for that case. Um, and so yeah, it'll be interesting that what we'll see. And I'll be at the courtroom. Make sure you sub up notifications when I go in there, get out of the courtroom. That's when I'm going to go live while it's fresh in my mind, and recount what I saw, what I heard, what evidence they had, and you'll hear it um, straight from somebody that was there. And I'm going to cross my fingers, knock on wood, do a little prayer for the case, baby and Manuelito. I always do that with the intention of what I'm doing, and hopefully I get in. The first time was hectic; people were pushing in and out. The second time was a little bit better. They gave us numbers in one of those boxes on the the monster cases, the box that comes in those monster cases. So what they did is they cut the box and they put numbers on there, and so they started handing it out to the public. I thought that was funny too. So that was that. But yeah, we went over two cases which were good, and I'm gonna wrap this up in 5 minutes. Just a heads up, because allegedly speculating is gonna be live, and I want everybody to head over there and check her out. I always give her a big shout out. She's cool. She's a friend of the channel. Always have a place here, and she's pretty much one of the few. I mean, the only person. channel that can be freely talked about in this channel without any like, hey, whatever. I don't know how to say it, but she's appreciated always. And but yeah, make sure you guys sub up. Make sure you guys hit all notifications as I'm covering these cases. We will get. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. We will, get caught up with the Jake and Harold case. So there's a few more cases I'm going to deep dive into, and as you'll see, you'll start to see more and more information as the closer we get to the present time, the modern times, because of forensics, modern forensics, GPS, cameras, and things like that. So a lot of the cases that I'm covering, um, there were some cases that were, yeah, I think Native Girl dropped the link. If you can drop the link, Native Girl, for allegedly speculating's channel, she's gonna be going live in like 3 minutes. And we have like the same subs pretty much, so I wanna end this live at 10:30 and head over there too. But what was I saying? I forgot my train of thought. Oh yeah, so just pretty much we're gonna get caught up with these cases and things like that. So again, apologies for the cases for the first 3 cases that I covered. We've covered 3 now as of right now. There really isn't too much information because there's just not. It's the mid 1970s. There's really not much information on it. But again, as we move forward, we'll start to see that. We'll start to see more information, more cameras, right? More just overall evidence and circumstantial evidence. So again, circumstantial evidence is important. And shit, I almost spilled my coffee. Yeah, I think if Native Girl's in here. If not, let me just drop it in real quick. Um, so we'll just hang out for a little bit. I'm really happy with the content I brought out with two. I want to be able to bring out some decent content. Yesterday's live was wild. We didn't. It's just the sound was horrible. So I updated my drivers. I updated Windows. I deleted some programs, and yeah, as long as I don't do like YouTube and do other things, then it'll be cool. But I mean, I want to eventually, and I want to be able to like research and put things um, on the screen for everybody. I like that too. Is when the screen is on there, and it kind of paints the picture. It kind of puts it in perspective. Like last time we saw like a okay, yeah, there it goes. Um, yeah, because my mind is moving fast, and I like to do things like I have things, and I'm waiting for things to download. And Lisa, no, you're good. Everybody's good in here. Um, and yeah, I forgot my train of thought. But yeah, we'll just hang out for a little bit. I'm gonna actually no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna end the live. Make sure you guys head over there. I'm gonna head over there because I'm done with the live. So thank you everybody for joining me up, like and share, and yeah, go check her out. I'll be there in the crowd lurking. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Love you guys. Bye.